I chose the date in alignment with the moon being in Cancer, because usually that's the best time to do womb healing or anything to do with uterus, birth, fertility issues, things like that. And then next month, I have another event coming up that will be focused more on the ancestral healing and bringing the energy into the bones, because a lot of ancestral limiting values and conflicts and trauma is actually stored in our bones. And I chose a date when Moon is in Capricorn, which is a great time for working with the bones. So I hope the universe will support our intention today. Okay, I want to introduce myself to those of you that are new to me, to my channel. My name is Julia Falaz, and I have been fortunate enough to work with mainly 3 exceptional healing modalities. About 6 years ago, I got certified in QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, taught by Dolores Cannon, and I have facilitated many hundreds of sessions. Within a couple of years from that, I got certified in the soul realignment technique, reading the soul records, Akashic records by Andrea Hess. She taught me, and I was facilitating that passionately for my clients. And about a year or so after that, I got certified in advanced metaphysical anatomy healing technique by Yvette Rose. I studied with her. I went to London to do this. And when I learned this, it's really an effective way of releasing trauma from the body. I couldn't not include this in my sessions with clients that were obviously limited by trauma that was running in the family. And my sessions' quality and effectiveness have just skyrocketed. It's really exceptional healing technique. And since then, there was another window of opening for me, passionate study of astrology of all my clients. I wanted to see if there is proof to our intuition guiding us correctly, and proof about some extraterrestrial connections that were occurring as well. And I found loads of it, and it's something that is opening up really widely for me. So that's the path I'm choosing to follow. But in the many years, in the last 5 years, I've done so many womb healing sessions and ancestral healing sessions that I just keep thinking I need to pass on what I've learned. I have to record it and just have it there forever for people that can be then guided to it and avail of it. I feel like it would be such a pity if I didn't pass this on and I moved on to a different path, because there's just such treasure here. So I really hope you'll benefit from this, and I look forward to then hearing your feedback towards the end of the session to see how it goes. Okay, so this really is the where I learned the womb healing, and the way Yvette Rose teaches the technique is very comprehensive, very complex, and you could easily split the womb healing session to 4, 5, even more sessions, because there are so many different stages during our mother's pregnancy where limiting beliefs anchored in her trauma, in her experience of life, could have occurred. You know, you could be limited by your mother's trauma from moment of your conception all the way to birth, and of course on and on. It's like, does it ever end, the healing journey? There's so many layers, and you clear something major, you think you're fine, and then something else comes up. But I believe, you know, at least from my experience, it gets better and better. The issues are becoming lighter and lighter. And the key message here is that I believe wholeheartedly that our natural state of being is state of well-being, state of peace, state of oneness and connection to all that is. And if we can't have that, it's because there is some trauma conditioning in our body. So most people, you know, when people are guided to start their healing journey, they start working on, they go back in time, they reflect on what happened in their current life, they work on their teenage years, childhood years. You know, we all hear about the inner child healing work, and it's very, very powerful. However, I believe from experience that whatever is happening to us in our childhood, teenage years, adult years is just an echo of what was conditioned while our body was developing inside the mother's womb. really it's just an echo of that. So today, I would like for you to reflect on, before we start the actual healing process, I want you to reflect a little bit on what was your mother's life like when she was pregnant with you? From the moment, even pre-conception, what was her, and especially her relationship to your father? Did she feel loved, worthy of love? Did she feel connected? Did she feel supported? Did she feel safe, at peace, happy, or none of that and quite the opposite, Because that emotional state, very strong vibrational point, was very present and creating powerful imprints on the egg that then became your body. And also the sperm of your father. I believe sperms regenerates every 3 months. So whatever your father was going through within the last 3 months before he conceived you, what was he feeling like? Did he feel worthy, connected, empowered, healthy, well, all these things? Sometimes we can't ask our parents because they are already passed to the other side. But if you can't ask your parents, your body knows. There is a wisdom in your body. There is a record of what was happening intuitively. You do know. So after today's event, I would like you to really work with the recording that I'll send you and kind of dissect it into smaller portions and reserve time for you to sit down and really reflect on it. Close your eyes, take a few deep, long breaths, get centered, and ask your body, ask yourself, if I knew the answer to what my father felt like, what my mother felt like, what would it be? If I knew the answer, what would it be? And then just be present with it and see what comes up. And engage all your inner senses. Feel it. It comes through as a knowing, just a sense of knowing. It could be thoughts, feelings, instincts, even all kinds of sensations. So, or visual story could come up. So ask your body to reflect on that. And once you get an answer, especially what was your mother's and father's emotional need at that time that was the strongest, that was actually unmet. For example, they really needed to feel abundant and worthy and good enough, but they didn't for whatever reason. And then reflect on your own life, on your own experience in relationship to your partner or to other people, or how you feel in this world. Is that an echo of what your mother and father felt like? Okay. And then go through the entire 9 months of what was it like in the first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. Today in the healing session, I'll guide you to bring the healing energy starting in the third trimester, in the last stages of pregnancy, because that's when the fetus, the developing baby, is almost ready to be born, and it's most consciously aware of everything that is happening within mother's body. So that's where we will start, and then we'll send like a ripple wave of healing to all the way to conception. I also want to point out that it's not only your mother and father, but very much so also your mother's mother, your grandmother, and everything that she was experiencing that is recorded very strongly in the biology of your body, in your templates of reality. Because, not sure if you knew that, but your body's egg was present inside your mother's body uterus, and that was present in your grandmother's body. And that's why epigenetics, it's a science of studying how ancestral experiences affect our life, our biology, our genes. They discovered that the trauma of the grandparents can be quite strongly impacting their grandchildren. Like it's a 2-generational imprint that is the strongest. And of course, it can go on and on longer. We are connected to all that is. Does it ever end? But the main one that we want to work with is the parents and grandparents. We can then send a ripple effect wave of healing all the way to the infinite chain of the ancestors of your lineage, because usually it's the same type of conditioning that occurs. There's only so many archetypes of behavior and issues and emotional needs that we experience collectively. So we focus on the emotions, the instincts, and the needs. These three things, when they come together and then when they get enmeshed, that's when the mess happens. Then that's when confusion and trauma occurs. So today I will help your body on a subconscious and unconscious level to restore clarity and peace in terms of the emotional state, emotional need, and the instincts. Okay, that's all that resonate with everyone. It makes sense to you. So I want to give you an example of how the imprint occurs. And most of all, what I want to talk about now is when negative association is made with a positive thing in your life. So when you think about the time when your body is developing in your mother's womb, and let's say your mother was going through some emotional stress, she could be feeling either overwhelmed, unsupported, unworthy, hopeless, powerless, all kinds of things, rejected, even guilty, shamed, all full spectrum of negative emotions, whatever it was. And during that time, while her body had this strong emotional reaction that also released all kinds of stress hormones and instincts to help her cope with it, at that time, that naturally sent a ripple effect of feeling and instinctual reaction also into your developing body inside her womb. And naturally, your body would be wired to seek comfort, seek support and sense of safety and peace. You want to restate that. So you are looking out, you're reaching out for some comfort in that stressful state. And as you do that, so you have a need to be comforted, you have a need to feel safe biologically. And in return, what you're getting back from your mother's body is her feeling unworthy of asking for support, her feeling abandoned, rejected, and all these things. So this creates a powerful blueprint for your experience of reality from then on, especially if it's a repeated situation, especially if it's her norm or her standard throughout the 9 months. So then whenever you need to feel safe, or whenever you need to feel supported and comforted in life, even as an adult, you will expect and create a reality of actually feeling unworthy, feeling stressed, feeling irritated. So it's just the way, it's like a filter that your body, your brain creates for how you perceive the reality. So even though you could be in an environment when all is well, your brain will make you think in a way that will bring state of irritation, discomfort, unworthiness. You will think about things that make you feel this way, because that is the blueprint. That's the familiar state that you are used to get whenever you need to feel supported or comforted or safe. So this is also why we then attract relationships that seem to have the same template design. We marry the guy that was just like our father, and so on. This is why, because the body keeps reverting to the familiar experience that became the blueprint while you were in the womb. So negative association was made with the positive thing. Another example, sense of connection, right? That is one of the first biological experiences that you have as a developing fetus in your mother's womb. Whenever you needed to feel connected through the umbilical cord, through the placenta, to her body, while you needed to feel connected, whatever her vibration was, emotionally, physically, mentally, that became the expectation, the blueprint, the norm, the comfortable, uncomfortable feeling. So in your life as an adult, whenever you need to feel connected, you actually experience reality in a way that is making you feel irritated, frustrated, stressed, anxious, confused, again, whatever your mother was going through. So today, I'm going to help your subconscious and unconscious mind recognize the difference between your positive need of either connection or sense of freedom, sense of safety, and the difference between what your mother was going through in terms of stress, negative emotional experience. And then also acknowledging the difference between your positive need and instincts that were triggered. Because sometimes, like for example, if you need to feel free, the instinct of fighting or hiding is fighting inside you, because whenever you needed to feel free and safe inside the womb, your mother's instincts were constantly triggered to fight for her freedom, to fight for her life, or hide or run away, whatever was going on there. So we want to really help your body restore clarity and resolve and dissolve the blueprints that were linked to your mother. These are now outdated coping mechanisms. And instead, we will connect you to your higher self, to your source of infinite wisdom and love, where you come from, like the life force energy. And we connect with divine feminine and divine masculine blueprints that are part of your eternal essence. Okay, so once you connect to that, then you will naturally it's like a ripple effect healing that may be going on for the next up to 7 days is usually the integration process for something like this. So over the next 7 days, it's likely that you will have flashes of memories of either your childhood, teenage years, adult life, and also possibly your mother's or grandmother's memories. You will suddenly see how your life experience is linked to your mother's or grandmother's beliefs and limited values and perspectives based on their trauma. So whenever you have that sudden memory, it's just like a ripple effect healing. Something will shift, your perception will shift. So then also as a result, you will see choices and opportunities that you didn't see before, because you had a filter of the blueprint of what was part of your mother's or father's stuff, or your grandmother's. Okay, does all that make sense? Can you see how everything connects to everything? I'll share one example. There's so many layers to it. My personal example, my mother, when she was pregnant with me, she was working very hard. She was very passionate about her work, pretty much a workaholic style. It was same when she was pregnant with my brother, and both my brother and I, we are in that same mode. That's our lifestyle. We just constantly are resourcefully looking to create and improve things and life and our situation. It used to be stressful before I knew that this was my mother's pattern. She was quite tense and stressed while she did that. Once I realized where my stress and kind of unhealthy, unbalanced way of pushing myself in work mode, once I realized where that was coming from, the stress released from my body, and suddenly I knew I have a choice, and suddenly I was able to relax and listen to my body telling me when it's too much, when I need rest, when I need to take some time off. Before I wasn't able to do that because that, it's not what my mother used to do. So once you realize it, it doesn't have to be just feeling unworthy, unsafe, stressed, anxious. It can also be things like that, overworking, or really not being able to relax because your mother was never doing that. Maybe she had many children already when you were in her womb. So do you have those tendencies as well, to push yourself too hard and feel guilty to rest and relax? That is also something that can, when you realize it, suddenly it will start dissolving, because you know that that's your mother's pattern or your grandmother's pattern. It doesn't have to be your choice, conscious choice anymore. So that can be very, very helpful. So when I will guide you through the healing experience shortly, we'll focus on 3 main things. When I will ask you to visualize yourself inside the womb, in whatever way it happens, I'll talk about that shortly, we will focus on first resolving and dissolving dense energies and imprints of stress and anxiety and tension in the amniotic fluid, the liquid that holds the developing body for the 9 months. Because metaphorically, the amniotic fluid represents your experience with external reality, with the world. And if the amniotic fluid felt toxic, acidic, polluted, especially if the mother was going through intense time, then the liquid, the water molecules in the fluid will also feel that way. They'll have that same vibration. So that was your first experience of external world. So did it make you feel unsafe, frustrated, irritated? Did you want to kind of hide or run away from it? All these instincts that were triggered constantly for 9 months. So we want to resolve and dissolve that. We want to heal the amniotic fluid. So I'll guide you through that experience. Then we'll focus on the placenta, healing, clearing whatever was imprinted there as tension and trauma. Because the placenta, metaphorically speaking, and metaphysically as well, represents how you experience sense of support, protection, nourishment. If that was quite toxic and heavy and bulky and stiff and hard, then that became your blueprint. So we want to resolve and dissolve and actually see the placenta becoming beautiful, relaxed, perfect, divine human design. And the third element will be the umbilical cord. Because again, if the energies were quite intense, then the cord itself most likely became quite stiff, blackened, bulks, like there was no steady flow of energy, possibly, especially if your mother felt not ready for bringing you in, or resenting being pregnant again, maybe, or if she was very young and it was her first child, maybe she was outside of marriage, all these things. It's all the issue of bringing the life force energy through. So we want to clear, heal, restore the divine human design inside the umbilical cord in order to restore your sense of connection to life force energy, to something that is healthy and safe and peaceful for you to connect with. So these are the three major ones. And then we will work with the baby itself, welcoming you, celebrating you as a gift to this world, and connecting to sense of support, unconditional love, wisdom of the divine mother, divine father, archetypal consciousness that is part of your divine essence. Okay, so all that will play a role in this healing and I believe positive shift in your life. So during the process, when I'll guide you, I will be talking a lot. I'll be speaking to your subconscious and unconscious mind. I'll be saying things like, we acknowledge the difference between your positive need and your mother's stress, difference between your positive need and the instincts. So I'll be saying a lot of things. It's okay if you if you pay attention only halfway, if you sometimes lose focus on what I'm saying, it's not a problem. It's actually a good thing. I would like for you to mainly be focused on you playfully, creatively visualize the process, like you be the architect of the change, of the transformation inside the womb. Because what that is doing, while you focus on, for example, first you will see the amniotic fluid quite dense, mucky, dirty, metaphorically speaking, and then with your attention and love, you will bring like crystalline water, making it really beautiful, pure water. It's kind of reclaiming the sacred womb. While you focus on that, it's your frontal lobe, your neurons are focusing there and kind of in a way being distracted. So what I will be saying, these acknowledgements, they will therefore go to the subconscious and unconscious mind. They'll be registered in a deeper way. So don't worry if you are like losing track of what I'm saying. It's actually a good thing. You just focus and have fun, have a creative, and let it be a creative process of how you visualize things in the womb. What we are doing here as well, we are not changing the past. Like you did experience everything the way you did experience. And it's a good thing. It's by divine design. It's serving your soul's evolution, your soul's purpose in this life. Most likely it's a continuation of what you experienced in the life just before this one. I've seen it in so many client sessions that, for example, if a person passed away in a quite traumatic death experience, let's say a war, passing, then their attraction point into next life would be quite traumatic parents' life experience, either them going through maybe being refugees in war, or something that just feels very unsafe and uncertain in the reality of the family. You know, you become a match to that frequency and have quite intense life entry, and then eventually it clears. So nothing is by chance. There are no coincidences. There really is a divine design and orchestration of everything that happens to us. And we don't want to cast blame on the mother or the father or the grandparents or even our own past lives. It's much bigger. You know, it's really nobody's fault. There's so much trauma conditioning on this planet. I believe we are several generations now that come here as volunteers of light and love, or at least we now have greater access to light and wisdom codes and frequencies of our divine essence, and we came to dissolve the issues of the past. So I feel very blessed and fortunate to do this kind of work and helping with that process, helping to heal the earth and the human collective. So I think I detoured a little bit. What I was saying is that be playful in how you're visualizing it. We are not changing the past. We are simply helping the consciousness of your baby self, of your fetus, now actually have access to divine templates of your human design, original human design. Before, it didn't really know how to access it, but now you come with your attention to make it available. And you are not disconnecting from your mother and father and grandparents and ancestors by releasing their trauma. I'm going to say this many times, that you're keeping the wisdom and you're keeping the love of your mother and father and your ancestors. You're keeping the wisdom and love that's unconditional, but releasing their limiting beliefs and trauma anchored in consciousness of lack and outdated coping mechanisms, and instead aligning to your truth, your soul essence. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Some of you are quite visual, but some of you not so much. So if you can't really visualize it clearly, 3D, HD, don't worry about it. What matters really is the intention, and even just a little bit of focused attention to that timeline of when your body was in the womb. So allow whatever way it goes for you to be good enough. Okay. One more important element I want to address, and it goes with any type of healing you will ever do. It's always good to think about if there is possibly secondary gain to you holding on to trauma for a little longer, because sometimes our state anchored in trauma becomes actually our identity. You know, many people identify with their limited way of being, and maybe that's how they get more attention or love or whatever from their environment. So sometimes the body doesn't want to let go of, because it cannot imagine what it would be like without it, you know, especially if it becomes their identity. So I want you to hear me say that it's safe to release that old identity, because instead you will align, realign, reconnect to your higher self, to that part of you that is full of wisdom, full of love, full of that quantum awareness that knows what's around the corner, that, you know, can read the collective time, just divine intelligence. As a result of you releasing the trauma of the past, you will now have access, greater access to that infinite intelligence inside you. So that will then help you navigate things.